Hello and welcome back to My Own Worst Enemy. It is time to finally get back to Global War. I did a setup video and introduction to this. It's been too long now, a while back. So if you saw that, you saw me set this game up and kind of talk through it a little bit. And my plan after doing that was to actually sit down and play this thing a few times and get a feel for the mechanics and how it worked before I did a playthrough. But unfortunately, real life got in the way and I have yet to sit down and play through a complete game of this, which I don't like doing that before I do a video recording of this. But since it's been so long, I thought, nah, I'm just going to go ahead and sit down and we'll go through this together. We'll learn this together. So what's that going to mean? That's going to mean that two things. One, you're really going to have to help me watch that I do this correctly and don't make any mistakes. I have read the rule book. I've read it several times since I did the setup video. So I've got a pretty good feel for how this thing plays, I think. So hopefully there won't be too many issues. But yeah, keep a second set of eyes on me here to see that, that I do these things correctly. The other thing it means is the likelihood of me losing this game has increased by an order of magnitude off the scale. So I probably was going to lose it anyway, but that's probably almost a guarantee now, but who knows, maybe not. So I've set everything up according to the setup chart. At least I think everything is set up correctly. Got the sequence of play here, so we'll step through that and we will just follow along and see what happens on turn one. I will play just one turn because I want to play one turn and go ahead and post it and let people look at it to see that I'm doing things correctly, in particular things like combat and whatever else. Just make sure I'm doing things correctly before we get too far along in the game. I don't know that I'll play an entire game through, but we'll see how that goes. So I've got the rule book, I've got the sequence of play chart here, and we're just going to jump right in. Now, I did go ahead and set everything back up. And one of the things that happened after I posted that setup video, the main computer I use for recording videos decided that it had lived long enough and it died. Well, I don't know that it's completely dead yet, but it's certainly not responding to anything. So I had to set up another computer and move this over to the smaller game table, which actually works a little better for these smaller footprint games because the camera gets a little closer to it. I think I have everything set up in place back where it was. Now, the only thing that's different, if you will recall, when you start the game, there are 3 of these turn chits that are not placed in the turn chit cup. They get pulled out, set aside, put face down and shuffled and then placed on the turn track, the calendar track here. So I've done that. These are face down. I don't know what's under those. And we will pull them as we go along those first 3 turns. And of course, over here we have the Pearl Harbor and Operation Barbarossa chits set aside as we were instructed to do. And I'm just looking, I noticed that the backs of these first 3, I would have thought they would have all been the same, but the Soviet one there, it looks is different than these other 2. So I would think if you play this game quite a bit, you're eventually going to know what is coming up underneath that Soviet looking shit there. So that's, I don't know, it may not matter too much because these first 3 turns are really kind of setting up the rest of the war, I guess. All right, so like I said, I've got this sequence of play here. The rule book is handy and we're going to dive into this. And the first thing you do, step A, is to draw a chit. But like I said, the first 3 are already out. So we're simply going to flip the first one over. And I'll show you this. So this is, that doesn't look good. So let me show you this chit and let's see if we can get this to focus here and cooperate. So that is the first chit we pulled. There is a 7A, a C, and a circle with an R in it. And of course, on the upper left-hand quarter is the UN symbol that is always there. That won't go away. That's on all the chits. But the 7A means we're going to suffer 7 attacks on the Western Front. The C means 1 attack on what is the C? It is, where did it go? It's down here, the Mediterranean Front, which is neutral, so we won't have an attack there. And that circle with the R in it, we will not use that. That will be used in advanced rules or options, which I don't think are posted yet, but hopefully at some point we'll see those. So we've got the chit revealed and on the calendar. So we go to B now, which is the turn start phase, which says place the chit on the calendar. We're there. Deploy units from the calendar to the turn box. So if we had any chits that were out here scheduled to come back in, this is where we would place those. Play calendar events. Beware of Hitler's order. So the calendar events would be the text that's on the calendar date. For turn number 1, it's the fall of 1939. There are no events there, so we don't have to worry about that. Turn 2, if you look, there is a, well, what does that say? Victory at sea event. We'll have to resolve that in turn 2. None here though, so we keep going. And then it says play chit-based events. So those would be any events that are, let me grab this again. Any events that would be printed on the chit itself. There are none on this chit, as you can see, but there would be like a mushroom cloud or something that would tell us that's a special event, and we would have to resolve that. And now we go to C, which is the evening telegraph phase. So that's actually on the back of this sequence of play chart. And this is where we're going to have some events. So the evening telegraph says to roll a die and add the turn number to it. So we're going to add, this is turn 1, we're going to add 1 to it. So I'm going to grab a D6 and we're going to roll and see what we get. We'll add 1 to this. So we get a 2 plus 1 is a 3. So you look on the back, you look at the evening telegraph here, and it tells you you rolled a 3. And the event is Finland with an asterisk next to it. That's going to tell us, well, it's going to tell us 2 things. One, the asterisk simply means that this event occurs every time you roll it. If it doesn't have an asterisk, it's a one-time thing. But it's also going to tell us we need to grab the rule book again to look up exactly what the Finland event means. So I'm going to turn to the Evening Telegraph, page 5. 6.0 is going to tell us exactly what the event means. So I'm going to look up Finland here. So Finland, if the Finnish tile is on its Vaaliraha, I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, probably not. If it's on its Vaaliraha side, flip it to its Mannerheim, which hurts Russia, front B, with its -1 DRM. You can attack it while neutral. So that is Finland, which is over here. And this is the tile in question. So there is the Vaaliraha. We're going to flip that as instructed to its Mannerheim side. So there that goes. So we're going to put that in Finland. There that goes. I have no idea what that even means. And now we are on D in the sequence of play. D is Axis Powers attack phase. So this is the bad phase for us. Bad in that, like I said, we've got 7 attacks to resolve on the West Front. So let's take a look and keep stepping through here. Deploy the Axis armies, consult for sieges, early war parties, and partisan effects. Resolve any distractions, resolve any blitz. Deploy Panzer armies after Barbarossa, Never in Winter, and check the Burma Road status. And I don't think the Burma Road is over here and it's open, but I don't think that's going to affect too much right now either. So let's go ahead and do the Axis attack. I'm going to grab the rule book again. Again, I'm stepping through this, learning as I go, and hopefully we do this correctly. So it says we have the 7 attacks, and it even says over here, if a chit has and the example matches ours actually, if a chit has a numbered letter, example 7B, that means you suffer that many attacks on the front. Yes, really. Okay, well, so we're going to take the strongest army from the reserves. Now, this is the Western Front, which matches up to the Western Front. Makes sense. And over here, there are chits, armies, that will come out. And there's also it's like a Goring chit and a Blitz chit. Now, the Blitz chit will be the 6th unit that would come out, or the 6th army that would come out. And Goring is, I believe he comes out as part of a special event. So we're not going to worry about Goring at this point. So we're going to go through this stack, and there are 4 chits here, and their strengths go from, well, it's convenient. It goes from 5, 4, 3 to 2. So the 5 would be the first to try to come in. I'm just going to pull the 5, and we'll put it, I'm just going to put it at the top of the board here for now. And actually, let's keep it over the Western Front. So what's going to happen is they're going to try to come in. They're going to attack the Western Front. If they're successful, they'll actually get to come in. So what's successful? Well, if you look at the Western Front right now, I have units in here. So let me grab these chits, or one of these chits again. So these units that are already in the Western Front, these are called prop units. And this one is Poland. So you can see that it has the large 3 in black at the bottom is its strength. And then in parentheses, you can see a $sign next to that. That means this is a prop unit. So a prop unit is something that we can pay to activate to try to prevent the attack from succeeding. So if there were no units in here at all, we had no units in the Western Front, and this unit attacked, this first attack, it would just come right in as a successful attack because there's nothing there to block it. With the prop units in there, we have Poland, and you can see it says $1. What that means is if I decide to pay $1 to support the prop unit, to prop it up, the attacking unit would have to roll higher than the 3 that's printed on the chit there. So if this unit tried to come in and he rolled a 4, then that would eliminate this Polish unit and it would come in as part of a successful attack. In this case, what would happen is it would flip that Polish unit over to its weaker side. So I have a decision to make here, and that is, do I want to pay $1 to try to prop up Poland? And this is where playing the game multiple times would have helped, because in Ben Maslen games, I know that money is going to be their important driving factor here. So I only have 8 to spend, and again, it's $1 every time I try to activate one of these prop units. That being said, though, I'm gonna spend $1. I'm gonna go ahead and take us down to 7 because we want to try to keep the West Front protected as much as we can, I think. So this unit now, it's trying to come in, and I've just spent my $1 to prop it up. So in order for it to come in now, it's got to roll higher than a 3. So we're going to use the axis D6. It is an axis D6. And they're looking for a higher than a 3. So let's see what they get. Well, they roll a 6, which is bad for us because that means they do get to come in. So that also means I'm going to count this. I had this little counter that 7 attacks, remember. So that was attack number 1. So attack number 1 was successful, even though I propped up Poland. So that means this unit will come in. And Poland, and I'll show you this, Poland's going to get flipped from its stronger side. It will now flip over to its weaker side. So now it only has I can get that in focus, it only has a 2 value next to it. And of course, it still has the $sign. We can pay to prop that up again. So that was attack number 1, which was unfortunately successful. So now we grab the next highest unit, which is a 4. Now it's going to try to do the same thing. It's going to try to come into the Western Front. So again, I have the choice to make. Now I have $7. Do I want to pay another $1 to try to prop up Poland? In this case, this unit only has to roll higher than a 2, which I think is probably pretty easy to do. So I'm going to choose not to prop up Poland this time. And what that's going to mean, since it's not propped up, it's not going to fight. This unit just comes in. And that's an automatic defeat for this Polish unit. It's out of play now. All right, so that was the second attack. So again, I'm going to count these so that I don't forget what's going on. So now the next unit's going to try to come in. So here we have, this is a size 3 army. That's the strongest. There's a 2 in there now. And so now Denmark is now showing. It's the same thing. Now this is even worse because Denmark, if you look at their attack value down at the bottom, it's a 1. So basically this unit's got to roll a higher than a 1 to deploy. So I don't think I'm going to spend $1 here either. So this is attack 3. And this unit will now get to come in. And we flip this unit over now to its, looks like Norway side. So there you can see Norway is now we're back up to 3 again. So I have another choice to make, it looks like. So we put that back on its Norway side. This is the unit that's coming in next. So do I want to pay $1 and have them try to stop this other German army from coming in? I'm gonna pay another $1. So now we're down to 6. So this unit's gonna have to roll higher than a 3 to deploy. So let's see what we get. Here's the attack. And so we're successful. He didn't roll higher than a 3. So that means and it's simply just, it failed. So it's still out there. So we still have 3 more attacks to resolve. So it's going to attack again. So here we go again. And do I want to pay $1 again? I'm going to say no. So that's going to eliminate this unit. And this unit will come in. That was the 5th attack. So all 4 of these units are in now. And looks like the Netherlands are showing with a value of 2 at the bottom there. So we still have 2 attacks to resolve, but there are no more armies in the Western Front. Like I said, Goring comes out through another event in the game. It comes out later, probably after the fall of Paris or something. I don't remember exactly. And then the Blitz would be the 6th army to be placed in a front. So I think that's going to be it. Even though we had 7 attacks, we've resolved as many as we could. And I think what's going to happen is these units that are remaining will stay there for now. And so I believe we are at the end of the Axis powers attack phase D. So all 4 of those units were able to come in. We still have 2 prop units left. One of those is, the last one is the French unit, which when it falls, France will fall. So moving along, now we're in E, economic warfare phase. So this is where we're going to place our convoys. I'm going to step through this just as it's on the sequence of players. So it says place convoys, the ASWII, which we don't have yet, and roll for U-boats. So this is where we are going to, and here's the U-boat table. We already have that on our sequence of play chart. We have 2 convoys in our convoy holding box, and there is a U-boat in the German U-boats. Determine now, this is where we're going to get our income. So these convoys, we can deploy those in any of these circle areas to try to get income. And if you look, the circles are numbered and lettered here. So the number is the amount of income that we would get if we have a convoy there that's not sunk or intervened by a U-boat. In other words, if I put a convoy up here and no U-boats were there, we would get $2 added back to our omnibus tracker. So that would be good. And of course, if the Graf Spee were here in 2A with that convoy, we would get nothing. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put a convoy in. Well, let's try to get as much money as we can. So I'm going to put one in this 4 circle, and I'm going to put the French convoy is going to go into the 3. So to determine where the U-boats go, there is this table, and we will roll a 2d6, and based on the number of U-boats that are actually out there or in the U-boat holding box, it will tell us where they are deployed on the map. So in this case, I'm going to grab 2d6, and we're going to roll it to see where the U-boat goes. So I roll a 6 and a 5 is an 11. So if we look down at 11, it says for one German U-boat, a roll of 11, that's going to go in 2A. And that's good for us because 2A is way up here. We look at our economic call, and of course, this is early in the game, so it's mentioning things in the rule book about wolf packs and ASW tiles. None of that's out, so we don't have to worry about any of that. We're going to go straight, no damage to U-boats or anything like that. We're going to go straight to the economic call. In this case, it says the size of your economy this turn is the sum of the cash from all sea zones that you have convoys in, minus any that contain U-boats. So we deployed in 4 and 3, so that's 7 income. So maybe I should have spent more money propping up the West Front. That's a lot, 7. Our dollars are at 6, so it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm assuming high as it can go is 12. So this would be another case of rules analysis paralysis. Is that a 13, or is this where the omnibus marker track ends at 12? I'm gonna think it's at 12. I'm going to assume that and just move my dollars up to 12. I think the mushroom cloud is there for the Manhattan Project. If you get the Manhattan Project tile up to there, then that's what you'd want to do. I don't know if that counts as 13 or not. Again, let me know in the comments down below if that's actually 13. Maybe I'm overthinking it or underthinking it. So the next thing is the United Nations attack phase. So this is where the Allies will attack the Axis. And ground attacks against Axis armies modified by Marines, island hopping, and die roll modifiers. Beware of panzers and sieges. Resolve downfall attacks. Drop A-bombs. So there's just a flurry of stuff here we can do as we get deeper into the game. But right now, we are only going to be able to attack Axis armies, I believe. And I'm looking at this chart just to make sure. Arrest Gandhi. He's not even out there. Yeah. And launch one partisan uprising. Maybe we can do that. I don't know. We'll have to check the rule book to see. Let's go ahead and pull the rule book out and look at our attack options here. This is a 9.0 of the rule book. And it's page. So here it's going to work just like it did for the Axis attacks. the way it's going to work is I'm going to attack units in up front. I'm going to pay $1, and then there's a strength number on the units. And remember, we deployed these in the strongest order. There is a 5 for this one. So I would have to roll higher than a 5 to defeat that unit. Now, when I'm attacking, I don't have to attack the highest first. I can attack these in any order I choose. So that's important to remember. And then I'm looking at the rules here real quick to make sure there's nothing I'm missing. It's strictly me attacking these armies, and I'm looking to see if these prop units do any good here, and I don't guess they do. I think they're only there for units being deployed. So let's go ahead and attack here. We're flush with cash now, right? We've got $12 in our bank account. So I think I'm going to attack this weakest unit first. It's a 2, so I got to roll higher than a 2 to defeat it. I'm going to pay $1. We're down to 11 now, and we're going to roll the allied die. And I'm going to see if I get higher than a 2 to defeat that unit. And I don't. This is like triumph and tragedy here. I'm failing on some of these die rolls already. And I can do this as many times as I choose. And I'm going to do it again. So let's pay another $1. We're going to attack that same unit, looking for higher than a 2. Well, that time we got a 6. So that means this unit is removed. Not from the game, though. It goes right back into that reserve box. Now, that's good because, remember, you don't want to get 6 units deployed to a front, because if you do, the 6th unit to come out to that blitz unit, and then bad things start happening. You could lose the game. So that's back now, and I have to decide if I still want to keep attacking. And before I do, I'm going to just check real quick. So and there's other fronts I'm concerned about here. Oh, by the way, when I resolved the Axis attacks, you notice I didn't even mention there was a C on the turn number here, C. I ignored it. I didn't even mention it. I should have called out your attention that right now the C front is neutral. So Italy is down here. It is Italy neutral marker is out. So that there's nothing would have come from the med reserves into area C. So that you just ignore it. So I should have mentioned that earlier, but we're going to mention it now. So that's why I didn't do any attacks there. Now, the reason I'm stopping now, though, is to see if there's any other places I can attack. So when I'm in the attack phase, any active front, I can choose to attack any army in there. And I think I read in the rules that the China theater is active at this time. So I think that means maybe I can attack the Chinese front. So let's take a look at that real quick. It was, I think, in this, yeah, so here we go. Start of the game, front A is at war, so that's the Western front. And in addition, front D is at war. Japan's invasion of China has been making steady progress. So front D is this China theater. There are 3 armies in there. The rest of the fronts are all neutral, so I can't attack those fronts. So I think this means I can spend $1 to attack the units that are actually in the Chinese theater, I think. Again, let me know in the comments below, but I'm pretty sure I can attack those units. I think, though, what I'm going to choose to do right now is spend another $1 and attack the West front one more time. So now we're going to take us down to 9, and I'm going to attack this 3. So I've got to roll higher than a 3 to get rid of that unit. So let's see what we get. That's a 5, so that's successful. This unit will come out of the Western front back into the reserves. So that actually worked out pretty good. And now let's see, maybe I do want to attack that China theater. So I'm going to, let's pay $1 more. And I'm going to attack one of these Japanese armies here. So we'll just grab the first one. And it's, I got to roll a 3 or higher to defeat that army. So let's try it. I'll roll. And I roll a 4. So this army goes back into the China theater. So I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure I can attack that front as well. I don't know why I can't. So now there's only 2 armies left in the China theater. There's 2 left in the Western front. I have $8. Now the question is, do I want to continue attacking? And again, I'm regretting not playing this a few times. I know that there are things you can spend money on after the attack phase is what I'm thinking. Let's attack the West front one more time. So there's a 4 in there, size 4 units. I'm going to spend another $1. We will try to attack that size 4 army, so I got to roll a 5 or a 6. And I roll a 5. Amazing. All right, so let's get that out of there. So the Western Front is managing to hold on. France still stands, is what that means. And I am going to just stop it here. I think I'm going to hold on to my $7 and we'll grab the rule book to check to see what else I can do. Not really what else I can do, but there's some other steps in here from the sequence of play. There were some other steps. So it says drop A-bombs. Yeah, I wish. Achieve air superiority. Yeah, I wish. Suspend USA to China. And let's look at that one. So 9.7. USA to China, this tile begins at 5. So USA to China is here. And I can spend it like dollars to buy UN attacks on fronts D, E, and what's the other front? Oh, it's not a front, it's Xinjiang, which is down here. Yeah. Need to make that where I can leave that counter where I can read it. I can see it. So basically it's just extra cash to attack units in the Pacific theater. So I could spend some of that now to attack the D front again. I'm not going to. I'm going to hold on to it. The Soviet cannon meat marker, which is also at 8, it's up here. This tile begins at 8. Spend it like dollars to buy attacks, but only on front B, which is not an active front yet. Or I guess it says I could spend it on the Xinjiang box as well. So right now it's pro-USSR, so I don't think I want to do that. So we're not going to do the Soviet cannon meat. Now, and I'm also thinking, like, I know how Ben Madison does and Wes Ernie do these games. These markers, the aid to China and the Soviet cannon meat markers, they're probably, one or both are probably going to disappear at some point. So it's probably best not to hang on to those too long. So this could be a mistake. Moving right along, attack German surface raiders. You can try to sink an Axis surface raider. So I don't think that, well, maybe that is. Maybe this is where we can try to, well, yes and no. So these surface raiders apparently are special U-boats. And actually, the Graf Spray is one of those units. So where is it at? It's up here in 2A. So we could attempt to sink that. Pay $1 and roll a die. If the roll is higher than the raider's strength, what is its strength? It's a 3. The raider is sunk and discarded. Now, I believe discarded means it is removed from the game entirely. So that we may want to do this here. So it says look up 5331 Bismarck and Prince Eugene. If the German raider, so that's not even out. So I guess they're just making us aware that that is something we need to pay attention to. But since this is not either of those, this is the Graf Spee. All right, let's do it. Let's try to sink the Graf Spee. So I'm going to pay $1, taking this down to 6. And I'm going to roll, I got to roll a 3 or higher than a 3. So let's see what we get. Well, we roll a 3, so that's not sinking anything. And I guess I can do this as many times as I want, like the armies. Let's see. It doesn't say at any time in the UN attack phase you can try to sink. So pay $1 roll. So it doesn't say if I can do that more than once. So I'm only going to try it once again. Let me know in the comments down below if I can spend as much money as I want trying to sink those surface raiders. But I'm only going to try it once here anyway. All right, so the final things we can do in the attack phase. One other thing I want to point out too, the economic phase, the previous phase, I kind of blew through the, I placed the convoys, I know, but I kind of blew through some of the other things at the bottom here. With my thought process being that I really can't do anything this early, but let's take a quick look at that again. Let's turn to rule 8.6, the earn the presidential bonus. So 8.6, and I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen here, but we're going to look at it anyway. So the presidential bonus is after Pearl Harbor. Earn an additional $2 at this time if Roosevelt is president. So we are not going to worry about that one. The Allied strategic bombing doesn't come into play. And then it says use Churchill. Well, he's not out. Chamberlain is down here in the Allied leadership pool. So we're not going to be able to use Churchill. Use Stalin. We could use Stalin. Again, I'm not going to. This was back in the economic phase. But so Stalin, you can use Stalin for... let's see, I think it's shock armies, central headquarters, military, Great Patriotic War. We're not going to use it for any of these things. It all has to do, a lot of these have to do with front B being active, which they're not yet. So I'm not going to use any of that. And then finally, the cash in Lend-Lease. So the Lend-Lease tiles are on the East Coast of the US. And so let's go to 810. And real quick, that simply says you begin with those 3 Lend-Lease markers. You have to use the Jeep one first. You can try to enact a one Lend-Lease tile per turn in any order, but it says one must become before 2, which is the Jeeps. If you enact the Jeep's trucks, you just cash it in for $3. So basically, I could cash that in and get $3 extra. Of course, I didn't want to do that in the economic phase, especially after our convoys are so successful. We could enact aid to Russia, which would raise that cannon meat marker tile up. And Liberty ships would place 2 U.S. convoy units in the East Coast box, which we could then deploy into the available convoys box in later turns. So I just wanted to point out that do read the sequence of play carefully. It's spelled out here exactly just what you can do each of these phases. And I kind of breezed through some of that and wanted just to go back and catch that, make sure you're aware of it. So now this brings us to the end of the UN attack phase. And now we're in step G, which is turning the tide. So let's take a look at that. And I'm pretty sure this isn't going to matter here because this is deep into the game. So 10.0, turning the tide. You win the game by forcing Axis fronts to surrender, either through the downfall attacks or A-bombs, but you can do this if the overall strategic situation favors you. The key to that are the 6 pink strategy tiles. So those are still out here on the reserve marker board. So this will not apply here in our sequence of play. So if there were any of those pink markers out, then we would worry about turning the tide. Now we go into the Pacific Naval Phase. Pacific Naval Phase is 11 in the rule book, and it says only perform the Pacific Naval Phase if Japan is at war, fronts E and F are active, and then only if the Dutch East Indies are Japanese occupied. Well, we are not at war with Japan, or Japan's not at war, and you can see those neutral markers here, front F, Tokyo, Japan neutral token next to that, and then front E, Japan neutral is also out there. And then the Dutch East Indies are down here, so there's nothing going on there. So there is no Pacific Naval Phase. And now we go into I, the industrial phase. All right, so the first thing we can do is, it says build partisans and reinforce Malta. So build partisans, we can spend $2 to build a partisan unit. Our partisan reserves are up here. There's 2 in there right now. So we spend $2 to place a partisan in any one front. Never more than 1 in a front. That makes sense. There's only 1 holding box for them anyway. On front A, you can build partisans after the fall of France. So that's over here, and France has not fallen yet. On front B, when B enters the war, they have not entered the war yet. On front C, after the pink tile is out, that's not out yet. On front D, from the start of the game, so we could put a partisan in the Chinese theater. Front E, and it's not in the war. And then on front F, after the fall of Bataan. So we could put one in the China theater here. So maybe we want to do this. And I'm looking to see if there's any special, I think it should just grab one of these and put it in there. Yeah, there's nothing on the backs of those. So do we want to put a partisan into the China theater? Let's do it. That'll take us down to 4. Again, I don't like really running out of money, but we're going to put a partisan into the China theater. So that's done. Back to the sequence of play. This is still under the industrial phase. Reinforce Malta. So 12.1. It's probably something we want to do. Malta was pretty important in World War II. And I think it starts on its besieged side. So we probably want to, I don't know if that's its good or bad side. I can't tell. For $2, you can flip the Malta besieged tile to its normal side. It says, note that Malta starts the game besieged. Just means that Malta is in dire need of reinforcements. Oh boy, so I can spend $2 to flip that, and I think I definitely want to do that again. So this is going to take us down to $2 now. You can see how fast you spend money in this thing. So we're going to flip the Malta marker now to its normal side. And I'm double checking, can I do that even though this front is not active? Doesn't say that this front has to be an active front. Again, I don't know if that's right or wrong. Let me know in the comments down below, but it doesn't say that that front has to be at war to flip Malta. So we're going to go ahead and do it. And then what's next? We can build convoys. So I don't think we have any convoys that we can build. They would be on the east coast of the US if they were there. So let's take a quick look at that. 12.2, once per turn, you can spend $2 to transfer one convoy from the east coast to the available box down here. So we can't do that. We have no convoys out there. Escort convoys once per turn. If the dollar tile is on its escort side, and it's not, so we can skip that. And then naval production, 12.4. Naval production, used carrier tiles can be rebuilt. Well, we have no used carrier tiles. They're all in the chit draw cup over there. The carrier chit draw cup, I should say. Build the over the hump tile. I'm pretty sure we can't do that. If there are Japanese armies on front E, you can spend $4 to build the over the hump tile in the Burma Road box. This permanently opens the Burma Road. So front E, there's no Japanese armies in there. We don't have the money anyway, so we can't do that. Build Rick's Place, 12.6. If Malta is face up on front C, and it is, you can spend $1 to put Rick's Place tile in the French North Africa. This gives you a +1 DRM on any attacks in that box, Operation Torch. It sounds like I could do this because we just turned Malta face up the French North Africa. So can I do this? Again, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take us down to 1. And we're going to find the Rick's Place marker, which should be off board here. I think that's it there. So we're going to put Rick's Place in French North Africa. I don't know if I can do that. I feel kind of weird doing it because that front is still neutral. So yeah, let me know below. It doesn't say anything in the rule book about it. So let's do that. Down to $1 now. So build A-bombs. Nope, can't do that. And then check for undefeated commandos. Don't have to worry about that because we have no commandos. That's going to take us to J, the turn end phase. So let's do that real quick. Allied banking, so 13.1. The player may choose to bank any remaining dollars or discard them. To bank, leave the dollar coin where it is. This is money that can be used next turn. It's currently on $1. You can also save one remaining unspent naval action. Well, we don't have to worry about that. And cancel military event. Remove the military event tile from the display. It may return, so there's no military event tile on the display. Naval reset. All U-boats on the map, including surface raiders, return to the U-boats box. So here's our U-boat is now coming back into the U-boat box. ASW tile, don't have to worry about that because it's not out there. And all convoys will go back to their convoy box. So these two convoys are now back in the available box. Next thing is quit India. If Gandhi is still on the loose in India, he's not. He has not made an appearance. We don't have to worry about that. And then we hit the end of the turn, return to step A. So that is going to complete one game turn of Global War. Again, like I said, I had some questions there. If you watched the whole video, you saw me ask those questions. And just as recently as the whole Malta Rick's Place thing. I don't know if I could do that. I think I could because the rulebook didn't say that the front had to be active, but maybe it did previously to the actual rules on those events. So I'm going to stop it here. Let me know in the comments if what I got right, what I got wrong, what you think about this. And I will wait a few days to see what those comments are. And then if everything is, we're still moving along pretty good here, I will come back and do a turn number 2, which you can tell that we already have a turn sheet out waiting to be flipped over. And there is some red event text on the calendar. So we'll have our first calendar event as well. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up on it because that helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. That really helps the channel, and it also notifies you of when I post new videos. And I've got a lot of stuff in the works. I'm hoping to make some changes around here at My Own Worst Enemy. I want to start doing some more with some solo how-to. I keep saying that, but I finally reached the point where I've got the recording studio set up so that I can start doing some on-screen stuff. And even a live chat is being planned, possibly more if the first one's successful. Who knows? We'll try that at some point. So there you go. Thank you for watching. And as always, I'll see you back here next time.